The Brutally Speaking podcast is proudly sponsored by Rockabilia. For over 30 years, they have been the go-to destination for all your music merch needs. From working with today's hottest bands to create truly one-of-a-kind pieces, as well as boasting a truly massive online store, Rockabilia is your one-stop shop when it comes to band merch. Use our code BRUTALLY at checkout and take 10% off your total purchase order. Huge thanks to Rockabilia for their continued support, and now, on to the show.
People say you have to have a lot of passion for what you're doing. This rings true because it's so hard that if you don't, any rational person would give up. It's really hard, and you have to do it over a sustained period of time. So if you don't love it, and if you're not having fun doing it, you're gonna give up.
What's up, everybody? Welcome back to another episode of the Brutally Speaking podcast. I am your host, John, and this episode's guest is the returning Mikael Stanne of Dark Tranquility. They just put out a really great new record, Endtime Signals, out now via Century Media Records. Honestly, Dark Tranquility has been one of my go-to bands of this ilk. If you go to Wikipedia or any music site, forum, whatever, message board, I'm sure there are so many adjectives that people would use to describe this band and weird subgenres and so forth. But simply put, they're a great metal band, have been. They are nothing but consistent and have been for 30 plus years. And that was kind of something I wanted to talk a little bit about. With Mikael, obviously, he just turned 50. And, I'm about to turn 40. And it's a thing where, I know I've been talking about it ad nauseum of just thinking about hitting this milestone age. And with Mikael being 10 years older than I am and what that's brought to him, what he's learned, maybe what he's learned from age 40 to 50. And something that I've kind of taken away just as an observer from the outside is looking at someone like Mikael who could honestly just rest on Dark Tranquility is my thing. It, satiates a lot of my creative itches, and I'm just going to do that. That is what I know. That's what everyone knows me for. And honestly, in the last handful of years, dude has just been cranking out new projects, and it just makes me look at it and go, do we become complacent as we get older? And that's why some people just kind of start fading out and kind of hitting, quote unquote, that retirement age, and you're looking to kind of settle down and slow down. Or is it really all in your head, where it's a mind over matter kind of thing, and you can be as creative as you want, and there's not peaks and valleys necessarily. You just have to tap into it and know when to do these things. So to me, to see someone like Mikael really just kind of kicking it into another gear, quote unquote, so late in life, it's really inspiring. And I think honestly, when I think about it a little bit more, is the reason why maybe I'm kind of wanting to do a little bit more in different creative spaces lately, because I see others that I look up to and see them thriving and doing all these things. And at the end of the day, tentatively, we only have one life. So why not live it to the fullest and kind of see what's out there and what we're capable of doing? And Dark Tranquility and Mikael, honestly, have just really proven that. And I'm really excited. This is a shorter chat, so I'm going to get right to it. But this was a really great chat with Mikael. I hope you enjoy it, and I'll talk to you all on the other side of it. There we go. So I kind of wanted to first ask you an interesting question. Something I kind of feel like I harp on is sort of the super long release of albums now, where we find out an album's coming out 5-6 months down the road. You get the promo single, and then it seems like you get about half of the record, one single maybe a month leading up to the release. And obviously, you've announced Endtime Signals is coming in about a month-ish, or actually 2 months now, but you put out a 2-song single ahead of it. Are those 2 songs going to be on the album, or is it a standalone single, basically?
They are from the album. So yeah.
Okay.
So this is more, yeah, what you might consider, yeah, the normal thing to do nowadays. I mean, there are some weird things that we've been doing lately that we talked with the label about, like, oh, maybe we, release it way in advance, or we just release some weird songs just to keep people entertained. Maybe, I don't know. It is a bit strange. I don't really. When we started doing this a couple of years ago, releasing kind of singles every 2 months or something like that, I was not a big fan of it, because the way that I work, at least, is that I hear one song from an album that I'm interested in, like a band that I've been looking forward to, and I hear that and you go like, yep, yeah, buying that on day one, and I'm done. I'm happy, and I don't know. I understand there's a algorithm that needs to be fed, there's all the DSPs and Spotify and all that.
Yep.
It needs to kind of work its magic, and I hate that we are here, that we have to do those things, but there's no getting around it. So it's just a matter of kind of making the most out of it, or
Right.
embracing it somehow. I try not to think about it too much. I leave that to in the capable hands of Century Media, in our case. And but yeah, it can be frustrating. And I know what you mean. You hear like one song, and then you have to wait 4 months till the album comes out. Just, I don't know.
Well, I think
it's nuts.
the thing that I've kind of come to learn is, because something that never made sense about it to me until someone actually said that this was kind of how it works is, yes, it's a single, or it exists as it does on the DSPs. And then when the album comes out, everything it's accumulated goes into the counts on the actual album. And I was like, oh, okay. Like, now it at least makes sense in that regard. Because before it's like, well, if you're tracking all these singles and they're getting their own numbers, and then the album comes out, it's almost like you're kind of, in my head, it was recounting, like resetting to zero. And it's like, no. And I go, oh, okay, that sort of makes it make a little bit more sense. Yeah. But the thing from it, from my perspective, and this is kind of where I had wondered if these two songs weren't going to be on the record, that this creates either the opportunity for like your two songs maybe, or the couple of songs that don't make it onto the album because it just doesn't fit the vibe. It allows you to put that out and not feel like, well, shit, I really enjoyed this song or songs, but we just had nowhere to put it. Or that it allows you to kind of be as more in the moment of the creative process of writing the song and then releasing it as you possibly could be, from the artist to the fans. So I do see benefits in those capacities. So I kind of had wondered, how are you traversing it? Because, we exist in this world where it's kind of 6 of one, half a dozen of the other as to why you're doing something now.
Yeah. No, I get that. I mean, and I realized that maybe more outside of metal, people, bands or artists do this, where they release a single, we just recorded this and we can just immediately put it out. You don't have to wait for vinyl to be pressed or anything like that. But the way we do it is more, I think, still kind of traditional. We record the entire album. Sometimes we record some extra tracks that it will end up, on a special edition, whatever, maybe bonus tracks for the Japanese audience, whatever it may be. But I don't. It would be weird to kind of record songs and then mix it and then just put it out. I mean, we did it now because we were in the process of mixing the album, and we kind of finished the first one, and because we were on a tight schedule. But other than that, I prefer to have like songs from the album that kind of represent different sides of what the album actually is. And then finally you listen to it and you get the whole picture. And then maybe, 6 months down the line, maybe something else comes out in order to kind of feed the urge or to promote kind of an upcoming tour or something like that. It all depends, but it's, I would like it to be the way that it used to be. Regular releases, you get like a single or an EP or something like that, and then the full album comes out, and that's what you have. And I prefer it that way, but I realize that's not the world we live in. So
no, and it's kind of funny because I was thinking back to some friends and I were talking about music the other day. And somehow we got to talking about like, oh, I remember going out. Like, I remember the day I went out and bought like these two albums. Yeah. I was like, yeah, it was really weird because like it was a Tuesday and I had to go find it because a couple stores didn't have it or they were sold out. And it was a weird thing to remember that new music used to come out on Tuesdays. And that was the day for the release. And I was like, fuck, I've just am now used to Fridays being the day you get a new record. But I do kind of like the idea that you can kickstart your weekend with something new, but I also like the idea of starting your week essentially with something new and having it all weekend and maybe being so stoked on it throughout the week that it's like it's your weekend thing that you jam with other people.
Yeah, for me, I love it. Like Friday or, special days, I walk down the street to my local record store and it's amazing. They always have what I want. And so you always buy like one or two new records every week. And I love it. Like it's the best, and so Fridays are awesome. And normally there's just a lot of work during the week and a lot of crap need to get to. So Friday is kind of where you can relax, put on the headphones and put the record on and like really, really enjoy it. And I really love that. But I remember too, like I had to wait sometimes, like, I have to wait for kind of like my monthly allowance or my paycheck or whatever. And then I could buy the record. And it was frustrating not being able to hear something on day one, because it wasn't anywhere until you bought the vinyl or the CD. But those days are gone.
Yeah. I was reminded speaking of just random stuff and memories, because that started a whole thing of remembering an album the day you're supposed to get it or something weird happening or whatever. Yep. And I remember because my birthday is September 20th. So I was like, my birthday gift from my parents early, like a week early, was supposed to be Jay-Z's The Blueprint record, but that was going to drop on 9/11. So wasn't able to get that, wasn't able to get a few other records that came out, and I had to wait like almost a full week to then go get them. And I was like, it's weird how you have these memories attached to certain records or the experiences of going to get them and things like that. Do you have a tradition when you put out a record, the day the record comes out? Do you have a tradition?
Not really. I mean, it depends on what we do. We're gonna. It kind of depends. Like, I love when we finally get to hold the vinyl, to see it, the physical form of it, to make sure that everything looks the way that we hoped it would. I love getting all the different colors or variations of it. And of course, I listen to it. I've already listened to the test print of Endtime Signals, of course, and it sounds awesome. But I look forward to seeing it kind of in proper physical form. So that's the highlight, like when we finally get it. Of course, our record store here in Gothenburg is awesome. And so usually on release day, we'll be there to sign it. We won't be able to because there's Summer Breeze the same weekend, and we're going to be there to play. But other than that, I normally we start a tour on the day of release or like the day after or something like that,
So I guess that is your tradition of sorts.
Yeah, actually, it has happened 2 or 3 times that we have played a show in North America on the day of release, and that feels good. Like, we kickstart, like, let's get going, That's awesome.
So I'm kind of a stickler for over analyzing little bits of information and trying to extrapolate whatever I can from them. So obviously, Endtime Signals. Is that a theme to the record, or is it kind of hinting at something else maybe from the band?
It's more a theme for the record, I think. Like we, I don't know.
I know obviously you don't want to give too much away, obviously, this far in advance, but
I think like when after the pandemic was over, we started touring again, right? It's been a weird time to be a band, not being able to tour, not being able to do anything but basically write and kind of do office work and talk to people over, Zoom or Skype or whatever. And so that was kind of frustrating. And then we got back, we got started, and we started in Ukraine, and we started in Belarus and Eastern Europe, and then went over to America as soon as the album was out. And then the war in Ukraine broke out, and all of our friends were all of a sudden like in a war zone kind of thing. And it really kind of got us thinking, like, what are we really doing here? What is our our purpose here. At the same time, we lost an old band member, Fredrik Johansson, to cancer like just a week before that tour, and so everything kind of came crashing down on us, knowing that like what are we, just dancing, singing monkeys that are providing entertainment when the world seems to be in such a different place. And I think that really got to us, and it got to me, and I had to kind of reevaluate why we were doing this, why I was still doing this after so many years. And it took some time to kind of get into it, but I guess part of the optimism that maybe I've had in the past was kind of gone, for a while, or still is. I don't know, but it kind of felt more kind of dystopian all of a sudden, and you took in all the negativity and all the downsides to where we are right now as people and in the world, and it just, I don't know, it made us reevaluate ourselves, and also like what are we really doing here, like what should we write about. And so it became kind of this almost kind of like a dystopian imagination of what things could be, as a metaphor for what we're actually going through, I think. And so it just made sense. And also, like, when me and Nicholas, who I started the band with all those years ago, that is still taking care of all the artwork and everything around the band in terms of visuals, he had an idea for the cover based on the lyrics, and then that kind of made sense with the title, that it's kind of like signaling something, that it's ending, not necessarily the band, but not seeing an upside or an optimistic future, I think.
Right.
And so that's where that came from. And so it was, it's a heavy album. It was heavy to write and difficult to kind of get through, but at the same time, I hope that people who listen to it will get into it because of that, and maybe feel similarly.
Well, I mean, even kind of looking at the first two samplings from it, Unforgivable and really the Last Imagination.
Yeah.
It's a thing where it feels very reflective. And that was kind of lead me into something else I wanted to talk about, because, sometimes I think things kind of happen for a reason. And again, I don't know if I'm putting too much stock into these things, or if I'm really kind of tapping into something else, like a parallel. Yeah. But knowing that this was kind of happening, this conversation with you, it's like, I'm getting ready to celebrate my 40th birthday in a couple of months. You just turned 50 3 weeks ago, literally to the day. Yep. So happy belated birthday, by the way.
Thank you.
And I know for me, getting ready to turn 40, it's kind of a milestone. Like, it's a big monumental year, an even big number. Same as 50. And I know I've kind of been thinking this last handful of months leading up to it, and I'm sure I'll do more reflecting leading up to it. But how did it feel for you to hit 50? And is there anything you feel like, if you've been reflecting on just 50, anything that you feel is good advice, or maybe even your truths that you think that you've learned in that time?
I don't know. Like, I mean, you're supposed to be kind of like, oh man, like.
See, I guess I don't feel that way. I'm looking forward to turning 40. Yeah.
Yeah. There was like, when I turned 30, I thought I was going to go like into some kind of depression. Like, what have I done with my life? That kind of stuff. But I had a kid, when I was 30, that was awesome. So that was the best thing ever. And then 40 was fine, I think. Like, I didn't really reflect on it too much. 50, I don't know. I feel pretty good. Like, we've had like a great couple of years, these last years of, creativity and music. And I feel in good shape, that I love singing more than ever. And so, I mean, and also way more comfortable in life, in terms of, family and friends as well. Like, it's just, I don't know, you get into, I have stopped worrying about those kind of things. So maybe I worry about a lot of other things, but that part I'm very, very happy with. And so it's just a matter of kind of, getting to a point in life where you like what you do, you're really satisfied where you are and what the people around you and everything. So I don't really worry about it much. It doesn't hurt that much when I get out of bed in the morning. Yeah, so I think I'll be fine for another couple of years, but maybe it kick in later. I'm not sure, but no. But for now, I think it's all good. Like I don't worry about it.
I fixated in this last few months thinking about it. I fixated on this phrase "rhythms and ruts," where I feel like that's a lot of what life is. It's just rhythms and ruts, and you just kind of got to go with the flow, and they'll kind of work themselves out eventually if you just kind of don't dwell on either positives or negatives and just enjoy the positives when they're there and know that the negatives hopefully don't last more than they need to, but they kind of create a nice balance between everything. And I think you kind of, to echo your sentiment, I think you just get more comfortable in who you are and you stop stressing about the things that obviously you haven't changed in decades at this point.
No, but I think so. Yeah, it's finding like that balance. It sounds like some hippie stuff, but it's just like balancing your life, your work life and your family life and your friends and everything around it. Like, of course, it gets stressful for sure. There's tons of stuff to do all the time. Like I can barely ever relax, but when I do, it's pretty nice, and I'm okay with it. So it's, maybe I took on too much work, but at the same time, like that keeps you it's a motivator, and keeps you energized.
Well, I feel like that's as good of any of a segue as I could possibly bring up your 3 other bands you started in the last 4 years ish. How has that been for you creatively? Because I mean, from an outsider's perspective, when I see like a new press release that it's like Mikael Stanne starts another band and another band and another band and new Dark Tranquility, that I'm either feeling like you're bad at downtime and just don't enjoy it, but I'd like to take a more positive approach to it and say, I think maybe with the pandemic or something, maybe you just hit like a creative like streak where it's like I just am so overwhelmed with ideas, and I just realize potentially as you're reaching an older age where it's like I only have so much time, like I just want to do these things and I want to have fun and be creative as long as I possibly can be. What was the inspiration for all the bands?
It was basically just okay, we're downtime now, but I'm still feeling it. We finished the recording for Moment beginning of 2020. And at the same time, I had already kind of started talking to Marcus and Santeri about Cemetery Skyline or just like doing something, And I kind of missed those guys. And we all of a sudden we knew that we weren't going to see each other for a while, and we just kept kind of, sending stuff back and forth. And it was the same with Grand Cadaver. Like, we couldn't go out that much. Restrictions were kind of easy compared to many other countries, but I could only kind of hang out with some of my neighbors here during the day. And Alex, the guitar player from Grand Cadaver, lives 2 houses away. So we ended up spending a lot of time together, and he was just, let's form a band, because that's what he does all the time. And then the same with kind of Nicholas. He called me, and I was like, I want to do something, it would be fun. And we've been talking about it back and forth for years. And then it kind of like, well, now we actually have time. We can actually do it. Like at first it was just demos and ideas, but then when nothing was in the calendar, it was easier to kind of take on these projects that ended up taking a lot of time, but it was fine. So it's fun. I'm sometimes I go like, maybe I said yes to a few too many things, but at the same time, like I'm enjoying it so much. And I think the stuff that we've done together, like all these different bands, have been amazing, and I'm really, really proud of the records. And so there's 3 albums coming out in the next couple months that I've worked on for 2.5 years. So that's fun. I can't complain. But it's some days are a lot of office work that I don't really enjoy, but what can you do?
Well, I was going to say especially now that you just kind of divulge that it sounds like all three are going to release something soon, or at least there are 3 albums, maybe not declaring which bands.
And Cemetery Skyline in October, and then Halo Effect in February.
Okay. So it would seem like at that point, because, and this is not necessarily the same thing, but it's like having my normal job, having this, I started another podcast with friends. There are times where I feel so, and I'm married, so it's like I have things that I have to dedicate time to, and they kind of release or give me something, each thing. Yeah. But at times I feel like it's hard for me to not want to strike while the iron's hot with things.
Yeah.
So compartmentalizing and making sure I'm not burning myself out or not giving myself enough to any one thing.
No.
How do you navigate that?
No, but it's partly that, of course, like just making sure that I have enough time to do all the things that I need to do. But also, I think mostly it's about kind of delegating. Like we have so many great people around us that help us out with the stuff that we don't want to do, so you can focus on the creative side. When it comes to money or travel or anything like that, it's like we focus on the creative decisions and what we want to do, like with the band, and then the rest is kind of we can talk to our friends and the people that we work with to kind of handle that. So that's a great relief to kind of trust and kind of take comfort in all the people who are working with us and for us. So we over the years, of course, managed to find just the perfect bunch of people to make sure that we can keep doing this without burning ourselves out. So that's a good thing, and we have so great support like that. I think it's really vital. Doing this by yourself wouldn't be possible for me.
I kind of obviously it seems like the theme of the conversation, whether I kind of realized it would be or not, is just sort of reflecting on the past as well as moving forward in the future. Dark Tranquility has been a part of your life for at least 30 years. I want to say at least like 35-ish. So you have known your life as Dark Tranquility, being in Dark Tranquility that long.
Yeah.
What are some memories that kind of, actually it's not memories I want to focus on. When you look back at a career like that, because it's a career.
Yeah.
What do you think you're most proud of, and what keeps you going forward all these years later when so many people would probably be resting on the albums that they made 15, 20 years ago, because maybe those are the ones that people like the most according to Spotify numbers or something now. What keeps you all going? What keeps you motivated all these years later?
Well, I think it's just it's still fun, and it's still challenging and interesting to write, and to collaborate and work with people and work with the guys in the band and to write together. But of course, one of the highlights of everything is that, as difficult as it can be to write and record, and all this endless hours of just like trying to come up with something, but the reward is of course getting out on the road, meeting people, having that conversation on the stage like this, where you can feel that someone is kind of taking in what we're dishing out, and that there's someone listening, and so that reward is why we still do it. I think that part of the motivation is that we get to kind of communicate through our music with people, and it's such an amazing feeling. And I know, I just came back from Sweden Rock Festival here for 4 days, just been watching some of the most amazing bands in the world, and just getting all that joy and that energy, that vibe, and that satisfaction of seeing incredible musicians working together and having an entire crowd just get it, and it's one of the most amazing things in the world, I think, and we get to be a part of it, and we get to kind of create that every once in a while on stage, and that's just that feeling, that kind of magic that happens when that interaction becomes it's just right, then I think then you forget all those long hours of travel and all the endless hours in a tour bus or in airports or on your way to studios. Like that, it's just gone, and you realize that this is why you did all that. So that makes it easy to kind of keep going. And of course, I don't really think about how long it's been. You can reminisce and you can have fun talking about memories and weird shit that's happened over the years. But I don't feel that it's kind of like, it's been an endless struggle. And eventually we'll get there. That's not it.
From an outsider's perspective, it feels like the band has kind of aged like a nice fine wine now, like where it's like, and maybe even to the point where in using another kind of drinking analogy, where it's like maybe when you were first kind of coming up of legal drinking age, you're like, wine's for losers, and like I like these things, but then you expand your palate, you just grow in general, grow to have different tastes. And to me, it's like when listening to the two singles, I guess, that are gonna be coming up off of the new record, I just feel like you're kind of hitting, I hate to say it like this because it sounds negative, but I don't mean it to be, but it almost sounds like you're hitting like a third wind where everyone's like really excited again. And maybe people that were having kids didn't have time to fall in love again with and support the bands that they grew up with, just being at a different point in their lives. I feel like it seems like everyone's kind of really excited about the last few records, really excited about the two new songs and the new record and pretty much everything that you're putting out. So it seems like it's a good time to be a fan of the band and a fan of yours and what you're doing creatively. So,
yeah, I mean, that's what it feels like. And also, I think we realized that when we started writing this album that it had to matter, like what I mentioned before, like how difficult it was to kind of get into it. Like that also meant like this has to matter. There are, two new guys in the band that, that are incredible musicians, and we wanted to exploit that. No, but really kind of showcase how great they are, so we could kind of expand our sound or kind of go back to like something that we haven't done for a while, but also kind of create something that felt different and new. And I don't think we didn't have we didn't compromise as much, or if at all. And I think that really helped the album, because we said like anything goes as long as we feel something. It has to matter. It has to feel. We have to feel something, and let's make the most of it. So during the writing process, it was basically sending demos, recording, being in the studio for days, for hours, for weeks, and just trying to get to that feeling. And I think we did, and I feel we did, and it made us incredibly proud once we realized that we're done now, and here's the final mix, and it does work. Like all that hard work was worth it. And I think everybody in the band right now is really excited to kind of get out and play these new songs, and also kind of bring back old stuff, bring back obscure deep cuts, and really make the most out of this next coming tours. So it's a good time for sure.
It seems like authenticity and, like I said, kind of knowing who you are and what you do well, I think seems to, again, sort of be a reflecting trend lately in a lot of my conversations, and even seemingly where you're kind of at as well.
I like to think that we become better musicians and songwriters and everything like that, and better guitar players and singers and all that stuff. So as long as it's going in that direction, we can keep doing it.
Last question for you before I let you go: where can everyone find you, or anything you would like to plug?
Well, we start touring the US in August together with Amorphis. It's going to be awesome. Our good friends, and and the new album is 16th of August, and so it's right after that. We start in Atlanta at Prog Power, which is going to be cool. And that's and then we're coming back, I think, next year as well. I think we have plans till late 2025 already. So if you want to see us, we're going to be there.
I'm hoping. Usually it seems like the tours of bands from not here in the States that come are always from my perspective, living in Michigan, because I'm like right in the middle of the country, so it's like, and then Canada and obviously all that, so it becomes this thing where either it seems like we get the Tuesday, Wednesday shows, which it's like, all right, it's hard to drive the 3 hours each way, and then do that on a Tuesday and take a day off that maybe you don't have, so have to call in quote unquote sick the next day. So I'm hoping I'll have to look at the amorphous dates. I feel like there was a date that actually was going to work for me, but cool. Maybe Atlanta, because Atlanta, one of my favorite cities. So essentially, I might have to look at some of the routing. And if you're coming back next year as well, then maybe I might actually get to see you twice in a calendar year. So
we'll make it worth your while. We're going to play very different sets, both tours. We already are planning that, so it's going to be cool.
Awesome. Well, thank you so much for taking the time, and enjoy the rest of your day, and hopefully see you on the road very soon.
Absolutely. Cheers, buddy.
Yeah, have a good one.
So that was my conversation with Michael. Want to thank him once again for taking the time during my lunch break to have a chat with me. Would love to have him back on, kind of go a little bit more in depth as we usually do. Unfortunately, a lot of the times when he's available, it is when just given the time differences of where we live, when I'm on lunch breaks and, he's in the middle of a press junket, but would love to have him on and kind of do more of a traditional style episode for me where we get to kind of go deep dive and kind of hit some weird tangents and so forth. But I feel like we covered quite a bit in that short amount of time. Hopefully you enjoyed it. Hopefully you have taken the time to check out Endtime Signals. Again, it is out now. It is awesome. A lot of the visualizers and so forth that they've been doing for the EP before this and then subsequently the new album have been really great. Like I said, it has been so great to see this band firing on all cylinders and just kind of a renewed sense, I'll say here stateside, from the band, because I don't think their level of fandom has kind of waned overseas, but here in the States, it's kind of one of those people like, oh, I didn't know they were still doing something. I didn't know they were putting out new music. And it's always kind of weird to kind of think about that, how just because of a geographical location and a band maybe not coming to your country as much, because I would definitely say that probably doesn't happen in the reverse, where people are like, oh, I didn't know, this band wasn't really doing anything because they don't come over here to Germany that often, or they don't come here that often. Like, this is not a sentiment I'm sure people say. So it's just funny that we here in the States, that if we don't see you or hear you as often, the sentiment is, oh, well, they must have fallen off and just don't exist anymore. But obviously that is not the case. Please go pick up this record if you haven't. Head on over to, and we'll start wrapping up this episode, but you can head on over to darktranquility.com for all your landing page for tour dates, merch, all the different stores for whatever country you are in. Head on over there. If you would like to keep up with them on the socials, you can find them on Facebook at DT Official, as well as Twitter DT Official, and Instagram at Dark Tranquility Official. If you'd like to keep up with Michael, you can find him at MiKLSTNE on both Instagram and Twitter. These are also in the show notes below, wherever you are listening to this on. And if you would like to keep up with the podcast, you can find us simple enough, BrewSpeakPod, on all your major social media platforms. Email me at brewtallyspeaking@gmail.com. Rate, review, subscribe, whatever you can do on whatever platform you are listening to this on would be greatly appreciated. Honestly, since I'm laid up for the next 2 months or so, I will probably be doing a lot more Instagram lives and Facebook thingies and all of those things because I'm bored. And what is that song from the quarantine? Sitting in the house, bored in the house, sitting in the house, or something like that. Whatever that song thing was, that's been omnipresent on my mind the last 4 or 5 days, as my sleep schedule is all kinds of messed up. And a lot of times I'm sitting in a room in the dark, trying not to think too much and just go to bed. But having a leg where you have to keep it elevated and can't move around a whole lot really makes it kind of hard to get consistently good sleep. But I'm going to do a bunch of podcasts while I'm down. I have about 5 scheduled this week. Hopefully keep the ball rolling, get a bunch more out. Might even start doing 2 episodes a week if I find that is a thing I need to do. But keep me busy. Keep me company. It's boring. I am bored. Please, please send memes or something. I can't stress how boring it is right now that I can't really do much beyond what I'm doing right now. I've watched a handful of TV shows already, so if you got show recommendations, I'm kind of finishing some of my more story mode type games right now as well. So if you have any recommendations, let me know and keep me busy. It's something you can do to keep yourself busy. Head on over to rockabilia.com, peruse their thousands upon thousands upon thousands of items in their online store. I'm sure you're going to find something you didn't know you wanted, but now you do. And if you use our code Brutally at checkout, you get 10% off your total purchase order. Thank you so much to Frankie and all the people over at Rockabilia. I'm actually, speaking of this episode with Dark Tranquility, I'm really bummed. Frankie and I were going to try to go see the Dark Tranquility Amorphous tour, which is kicking off September 3rd in Richmond, Virginia, and going all the way through until October 6th in New York. And I'm really bummed. I really wanted to go see this tour. The date is stopping in Minneapolis on September 28th, so 8 days after my birthday. So it would have been really cool to go see this tour with Frankie, but alas, there are a lot of tours and a lot of shows that I'm going to miss. So hopefully you get to make it out to the show. If you do, send me some pictures. Hopefully I can try to get Frankie to go to the show and maybe pick up a shirt for me, because I really, really wanted to see this fucking tour. So enjoy the rest of your day. Hopefully it's going better than mine, and I will see you all next week, where I have a returning Mark Volelunga from Nothing More. That was a really fun chat, and I'll talk to you all then.